Testing, 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 testing. This is the third day of our training. This is probably going to be one of the longest ones that we go through, but this is going to be the most crucial of all of the steps. So, right now, this portion of the training is where we kind of get into what a lot of these trainings should be teaching individuals. We're going to fill in the gap right now and start to create a new wave, which is going to allow people to, you know, let's just be real. We're coming into business, people. Not often do we come into situations, especially in this country, and we have the full scope of information that we need in order to operate effectively, right? And achieve the positive results that we're looking for. As a result of that, this industry now is in a paradigm where there's like certain mind frames and patterns that are good enough for individuals to be able to enter this industry. They do that and they get partial information, and that partial information leads them to this wall that everyone seems to hit. Brokers hit this wall, carriers can hit this wall, definitely any of the agents of these entities who have authorization to transport or manage the transportation of freight in the United States. Any of those agents also they hit a wall, and it creates a lot of division. And when individuals can just enter the transport, like, so for instance, I started when I worked at any brokerages that I worked with. There was training available, but that training was information that they had manicured to fit what their specific needs were. So although I was learning about all the different terminology, one pick, one drop, receiver, consignee, shipper, destination, origin, drag and drop, or drop and hook, and all these different terms that you'll learn, um, I learned all of that because that's necessary for the fulfillment of services for customers. However, no one said, you should do a really good job of trying to build your carriers by getting rates from them that are consistent with what it is that they need to move these lanes, and then utilize that information to quote your customer for two reasons: because you're able to give a real rate that's verified from the carrier who's on the ground carrying the most expenses, right? They'll know what the fuel rate is right then and there. And you also have that carrier available now to pick up that shipment. All of their capacity, what days they can pick up, so now I can go back to the customer with a lot of confidence when I speak with them, and I won't have to negotiate with them from a standpoint of like rates, because what a lot of trainings will tell brokers is to not, no, I'm sorry, not trainings, but the brokerages that I work with. So yeah, we can't say training. So at these larger brokerages have trained us to believe that you're supposed to go and beat the rates down on the drivers, on the carriers, right? They say to sales reps, go to your customer, use DAT to get a rate, use our TMS and lane history to look at the rates that we have in the system, and use that to quote the customer. If the customer pushes back, then what you do is tell them or ask them what kind of rate they can do it for. But customers and shippers are savvy. They've got TMSs as well. They have load board, like we talked about in revealing the board, right? So they have these tools as well. What's stopping the shipper from collecting data? And and trust me when I tell you, the shippers absolutely are collecting data, because that's how you're able to be really good in this industry, which is why this exists. From when I went and I was working with, was a company, I was working with Traffic Tech. That's where this portal bidding data spreadsheet came from, because I noticed that the TMS that we were using did not allow us to be able to collect the information that we needed to be really good with bidding, right? And so that's what I did. I created this bidding spreadsheet because I knew the information I saw in the portal would be different from the next day. Nobody taught me this. This is just me thinking about like how can I get better at this? Every day I come in here, I'm frustrated. I can't keep saying to go lower on the rate because, you know, and it just didn't make sense to me to continue doing it that way. I didn't have any leverage with the customer because the customer was telling me what it was going to cost to get something done. And I'm talking to these carriers and, they about to curse me out because they like, bro, I can't do it for that rate. Like, and so once I started to build and collect this data, build and collect carrier information, I've got notepads from years where every interaction I had with a carrier, I wrote down their name, their MC number, what lane it was that I was quoting, or I was asking them a quote for, and the rate that they gave me with, yeah, because I knew if that customer at any point said, "Hey Terry, yeah, let's do it," I wanted to call back that person who quoted with me because that's a form of prospecting. It's carrier relations within a brokerage, which is what some people should be doing. Um, but they don't take those steps because it's a lot easier and convenient for an individual to come into this industry and then just go to the load board, right? And then once you get to the load board, you can just post in DAT and it will just do all of the work for you. And as a dispatcher that's coming into this industry, and this is probably one of the few times I'm going to say that word dispatcher also, because dispatcher, that term does not exist within the FMCSA regulations. The term dispatcher is an individual who provides service through passing information to another individual. Matter of fact, let's just look up what a dispatcher is, right? Because this is just a term that's, here we go, a person whose job is to receive messages and organize the movement of people, vehicles, especially in the emergency services, right? So in actuality, here we go. A dispatcher is a communications worker who receives and transmits information to coordinate operations of other personnel and vehicles carrying out a service, right? So, I mean, that's a oversimplification of what an agent is according to the FMCSA, right? And that's what we're going to go over today is we're going to talk about these regulations because as we enter business, we need to be coming into it having a full understanding of what it is that we're doing. So that means you have to take personal responsibility to do your research, to like if you are an individual who looking to get into the transportation industry, what I would say is to go and research multiple dispatching companies. And if that dispatching company, you call and interview them. Because I'll tell you, most dispatching companies are definitely looking for dispatchers to work with. And if you call them up and say you want to work with them, they'll work with you, right? They're looking for people because they need carriers also. And that's something that I'm going to teach you in this course. You're going to learn that as well. But first, we're going to hit these regulations. Because I'm going to tell you something, man. Like when I was in the military, uh, which that is definitely a job where life and death is on the line. The military, of all of the things that are, well, all the different areas of opportunities there are for improvement within that organization, they are very thorough with ensuring that whatever your job is, you gonna memorize the regulations and the policies. And that is what created so much flexibility for me while I was in the military because I understood the regulations and I would go in and read these policies. Like, actually, I had to thank my mom because when I was a kid, I was an only child and I watched TV, but I mostly watched educational things. And I really wanted to be like a marine biologist. I love Jacques Cousteau. And so when I was at home, I used to read the dictionary. Like I would read anything. Like I was that kid who, and I'm pretty sure other people like this too, that was sitting there eating cereal, and because I couldn't watch TV because we sitting at the kitchen table eating, I used to read the motherfucking cereal box and just be imagining like, what the fuck is riboflavin? You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be sitting there like, bro, what is all this shit in the cereal? Like, and I would just sit there and remember these words, niacin and all, even though that's a naturally occurring product. I mean, a naturally occurring substance. I would just look, man, and just be wondering. And then I would look at the different cereal boxes and see which ones had similar products in them, which ones had similar substances or, didn't. That shit has always been fascinating to me. So I'm really thankful for God for sending me in the direction that I got sent in. Because in the military, they reinforced how important it is to be knowledgeable about the things that you're encountering, interacting with, consuming, right? Because if you don't, somebody could die. And people die from eating cereal. You schmiggita. It take a while, but you're still dying, right? And so I loved it. And so that's what I did. I dug into the regulation. That's what we need to be doing in business as well. That's what these trainings are not teaching people. It's not preparing them to be able to come into this industry and really be successful in a way that allows them to reduce the amount of exposure that you end up giving yourself, like as a carrier, just like we talked about before. Look at this as the carrier. All of their work goes straight through the broker, and the carrier and the broker have the same authority. Actually, the carrier has better and more authority because they have $1 million in insurance in their truck. They got way more leverage than a broker does to be able to work with a shipper. But this industry tells the carrier that you need to go to the load board and find you a broker. Huh. That's what they tell them. And there's a lot of people out here right now who's sitting at their house or sitting on DAT right now trying to figure out how to find a shipment. And they need a good agent to be able to come in and say, you know what, here's what we can do. I'm going to show y'all what to do though. But so it is probably going to be one of the longest of the trainings, and I will break it up. But as you can see, there's a lot of content here for us to go through. Now, what I did was I pulled this is the Title 49 CFR. The Title 49 CFR is the regulation that governs all the rules that fall under transportation. And so this will tell us and we'll get to the link, but I just wanted to show you there. Here it is here. And so this regulation tells us what we can do, what we can't do, who is who, names of things and people, what the true definition of broker, carrier, freight forwarder is, what we should be calling this individual that everyone's calling a dispatcher, what sort of powers you have when you become attached as an agent to one of these three entities. Well, yeah, one of the three entities slash roles that exist within the industry that need authorizations, right? And that's carrier, freight forwarder, and broker. Okay. Because shippers don't need authorization from the FMCSA. They're included in this because they do business with the Department of Transportation because they're shipping goods. Now, through them, they more than likely have to, do some sort of something. But for the most part, FMCSA regulates us. And here we go. So I went through the 49 and I actually went through, I forget what the name of the entire regulation is, but I went through the whole thing and I basically just pulled out these links. And this is available on the FMCSA's website, or as you can see, ecfr.gov. And you can go here and you can get these regulations. Yeah. And so I went through and I pulled out ones that I felt were pertinent. And if there's more, and there's definitely more, because as you see, I got them broken down here by the different parts. So there's obviously ones that have been omitted. Just go back and check it out. But these are the ones that I know we should be looking at some point, or at least I believe are important for us to be looking at And we're going to go through some of these and, clear up some things and reveal and bring some things to light. So, I wanted to start with the Office of the Secretary of Transportation. This is the individual who's making the rules for the people who are on the road. So here's this organization, delegation of powers. I'm gonna make it quick on some of these. Just I want to show you. We should be going through and we should be looking at this stuff to see how these different organizations are related to each other. Because again, we are entering into business, right? These individuals are out here working and doing things we should know. So that way, if we ever need to, you know, because if you're a broker, you're definitely going to be working with the Federal Aviation Administration at some point if you want to ship air freight, right? Everything's moving on the highways. Most of these, honestly, myself, I didn't even know most of these existed. But we should be checking this out. This is helpful. So it tells you their authorities, when they constructed it, what the Office of the Secretary is and their key responsibilities, providing leadership and formulating and executing well-balanced national and international transportation objectives, policies, and programs to ensure the nation has safe, economically competitive transportation systems that support U.S. interests, that are maintained in a state of good repair, that foster environmentally sustainably, and that support livable communities. That's a lot. There's a lot they do, but boom, shloom. So we get to figure out what they doing, what they writing. Here's the administrative procedures, information that's publicly available. So this will tell us what types of information, if we ever have questions, we can come here and we can figure out, what information is available to us that we can just come here and read ourselves, or we can request it, right? See, this is good for us to know. That way, if we do have questions, instead of us relying on old people's or older individuals into the industry, actually, you know what? I'm going to rephrase that. Instead of us utilizing outdated information or information that doesn't allow us to progress, now when we hear questions, what I would say is ask that same question to multiple people within the transportation industry, and then look at all of your answers, see which one makes the most sense, and then now be able to come and do your own research so you can figure out what exactly is true. Now you can verify and validate, right? And you can come here and actually get it directly from the governing body. Very important. Very important. And that process is very similar. Like if you apply that process to life in general, if you have a question about something in life, ask multiple people, right? And just ask, like, see what their unfiltered, opinion or professional, what a suggestion or whatever is. And then take those, figure out which one make the most sense, and then now go do your own research to figure out. Because now you can see what the overall opinion is of individuals in your environment. You can figure out which one of those individuals you can actually trust, right? Think about what we talked about earlier when we talked about what's a good way for an individual to find carriers when you're quoting shipments for customers. Like go to the DAT board. Once that customer tells you the lane, if they say it's picking up in Chicago and it's going to California, get the load details, go over to DAT. If you're using a load board and you haven't created your carrier network, it's not strong yet, go do a search for trucks that are on that lane, call up 3 to 5 of those trucks, get rates on those shipments, take that median information from those shipments, the median rate from those shipments, mark it up, and then you provide that to your customer. Same process. The only difference is we don't have to do any research now once we get that information from the carrier, because the carrier is the individual who knows they doing it. Or at least they should know. But in actuality, where most carriers getting their rates from is where everybody getting their rate from, which is DAT. So if the carrier getting his rate from DAT, The broker getting a rate from DAT, the shipper getting a rate from DAT. Everybody's saying the same damn number. But I guarantee you, you go talk to that carrier, that number not gonna be that number. They're gonna tell you they need a different price. So now tell me what's DAT doing? Because it should be multiple, not just one that's giving us all the same rate. And I'll tell y'all that rate is coming from a few very big carriers. DAT is not, really collecting no data because no data really flows past DAT. That is just a load board where people are advertising that they are available to provide services. That they're not really getting any data. Like you can book shipments through DAT, and DAT it can also serve as a TMS. So in that aspect, if you're utilizing that TMS portion of it, then yeah, they're collecting data from you. But for the most part, this is an information board. This is an alert system. That's what DAT stood for. It was dial a truck because back in the day, it actually used to be a real board. Like, so when carriers would go in to pick up shipments from certain places, there would be an actual load board that told you what shipments were coming up. And that's how you knew where you needed to go, where your shipments were. So imagine how that just evolved over time. That's the same thing. It's just alerting shippers to where things are. But now the broker, he can, because he's telling them where the shipments are. But this is really just an alert board. And so what DAT does in order for them to be able to get rates like the one we were looking at, where we can do this. Um, and let's go to Boise. So this rate that's going to come up here, this rate right here is generated by very big brokers like this company. Sorry. This company right here is the company that is sending rates to DAT. Why is it doing that? I don't know. So this company right here, I worked with Night Swift as a senior carrier sales representative. While working with them, we had a meeting with the vice president because working from home was kind of a new thing, and they were really, you know, they were on top of it. So it was a lot of eyeballs on it. So we would have meetings with this dude quite often. And while talking with this gentleman, what he said to us was they are providing rates. He basically told us they were providing rates to DAT through the data that they collect from their shippers and the routes that they run in. Because Knight is a carrier, but they also are a broker. So they have shippers and stuff too, but they do have a whole lot of equipment on the road. And they have a lot of drivers that they employ. They do some dope stuff. They actually are a pretty decent company. But the point I'm making is that Knight Swift Transportation is one of the large companies that are providing rates to DAT for them to be able to get this number. You see how when I came here to search for this, it don't say carrier truck rate lookup. It just say quick rate lookup. So everybody that come here, carriers, brokers, or even shippers, when they come here and they type in any of this information, it is going to give them the same thing it's giving me. It's not going to change. So how can we trust that for real? You get what I'm saying? Like, how can we really truly trust that? Oh, this is so silly. I had to click new search. What they you doing? ClickBank or something, man? Jesus Christ. Uh, so when we pull in this rate, you see, it's not differentiating. It's just telling me this how much it's gonna cost to go from Fort Lauderdale to Tacoma. So the carrier, if they don't know how to do generate line haul rates, which we'll learn how to do that too. If they don't know how to do that, then The broker coming here, he looking at that. He like, oh, okay, we could probably get it done for this much or less. So he'll go to his customer and he'll quote them that exact number. How you gonna pay the carrier that exact number? He can't. He gonna come in and try to beat you down to 6,100. Mm-mm. Come on now. Come on now. We got to know what it is that we're doing and what we're dealing with all the time. So, public availability information, boom, shloom. This one I found very interesting. They got a short-term lending program for uh, people who are authorized or entities that are authorized in the industry. And so, like this right here, I think is huge, and it's for let me see, they want it's to support the boom small disadvantaged businesses, right? Like that's big, that's big because they talking about people like us that grew up in inner cities and yeah, us. That's big because now, like, say if you are an agent, so you're an agent, you come on and you working with a carrier, you provide those services that the agent will provide for the carrier. Now, as they start running, you doing your job, you pulling in customers for them, right? And because you're gonna learn that. Now, when they start talking about purchasing equipment, you don't even have to really go through those lenders that's giving us whatever rates. You can come to the FMCSA, and they got a short-term lending program designed specifically for us. Come on now, you already got your MC number that authorizes you, right? That gives it to you, right? Look, it's guaranteed loans, and if I'm not mistaken, it's up to 750,000 that you can get. Look at the criteria: be a for-profit entity, have a eligible transportation related contract, which agent, if you know how to prospect for shippers, you understand how what sort of power it is that you get from having the authority that you're using from the carrier. Man, it's powerful right here, y'all. How many people knew that? It's powerful. Look at that. You can get 750,000. The base rate guideline for STLP loans is the prime rate in effect on the first business day of the month in which STLP loan guarantee is approved by DOT. The prime rate is printed in a national financial newspaper published each business day. Hmm. Let's find out what financial newspaper has the prime rate. STLP. Is it the Wall Street Journal? I'm about to do some more research and see if I can find this. I'm not gonna get too wrapped around the axle on that, but that would be good to know because then we can find out what that rate is. But the fact that you could just go straight through the FMCSA to get it, that's dope. For long-term working capital, repay withhold. Look at this. You can use it to repay your taxes. Look, look, look. You can use it for your business. You can use it for whatever you want. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Come on now. Come on now. Mm, look at that. Come on now. Come on, man. I'm raw as hell. Y'all welcome. Y'all welcome. So, so we got that short-term lending program. Airport concessions. Let's see what this is. Yeah, I don't know all these by heart, y'all. I just knew what would be important. Ensure non-discrimination in award and administration of opportunities for concessions by airport. So this means that this gives us opportunities at the airports to do concessions. Concession means one or more type of public businesses, business located in an airport, subject to engage in sale of consumer goods. Boom. And what's this regulation? So they want to make sure we able to participate. But imagine if you was able to get some sort of contract. Now check that out. Now say you can get you a contract, right? If you working at, here it is right here, right? So if a person is doing this, right, you selling concessions, because it's saying that, and you could come and get you a loan short term within this short term lending program and use that to get in here. You could be a carrier that's you got a truck already, and then say the agent who working with the carrier, you say, hey, you know, I always wanted to be involved in the airport concession business. I think that would be interesting to do. And then now, instead of trying to find another carrier to work with, right? Because that's what a lot of these dispatching companies will tell you. They'll tell you to go, and once you book up that one carrier and you can't put no more freight on the truck, then now you want to go find you another carrier. No, what you could be doing is figuring out what's up with this concession program, and then now telling that carrier, hey, we can apply for this short-term lending program through the FMCSA, get up to $750,000, and if we can form some sort of partnership that would be long-term beneficial between our two companies, I would manage this part, right? Come on now. Here go the next code right here. This will tell us what it is. There's so many ways of getting money when we use our imagination and stop letting other people think for us. When you let other people think for you, you're only gonna know what it is that they let you, what you gonna know, man. Basically, I'm sorry. It got me a little emotional looking at this because I like, not emotional, but my mind started working in a different way because I love using my imagination. And when I learn things, yeah, I automatically start figuring out different ways of taking advantage. So a new car dealer, what does a new car dealer got to do with that? Oh, oh, wow, that's interesting. What does a car dealership have to do with this? You know what? When we in a group, we'll look over that. But come on now, options already. And this is just, come on now. We ain't even got to the definitions of what it is that we can do within the industry. We still just learning what the Office of the Secretary of Transportation got for us. Definitely need to be up in part 20 for sure. There's a lot in there on part 20. Participation. So this probably is going to make sure that people is treating us fairly. Yep, boom. Non-discrimination. It's wide open for us to be able to get in here and do what we do. They want us to be involved in it. But how can we get involved in it if we got dispatch trainings that's not telling us about this? If we got broker training that might be mentioning it to us, but you got to pay $3,000, $5,000 in order to get the information. Driving schools not telling carriers this, and if they are, why is there so many carriers out here still hurting? Come on now, we ain't even got to doing the job yet. Here we go. We can do standard time zone boundaries, right? That's dope. Assistance for surface transportation. Hmm. Federal credit assistance. Let's see. eligible costs, development, phase activities, planning, feasibility analysis, revenue forecasting, construction, restore. Okay. All right. Let's see what this for. Okay. So you can get another line of credit. All right. The total amount of credit assistance offered to any project under this part should not exceed 33% of the anticipated eligible project costs. I mean, that's still good. You get a third of it paid for. Okay. 33%. Okay. hmm So basically, they just got lines of credit that you can be pulling from as long as it falls within these categories. Okay. Let's see what this threshold is. To be able to receive credit, if located in a metropolitan area, shall be included in that area's metropolitan transportation plan. Look at this. I got to call one of my guys and let him know about this. Yeah, I got to call my guy and tell him about this, bro. This big because he was just talking to me the other day about wanting to get him a Sprinter van and get into the industry, but he was looking for funding, and you can get it directly to the FMCSA. Boom, shalom. All right, and so now I'm gonna take a second. I'm about to pause this real quick. So I'm gonna eat some food, and then we'll get ready for this next part. Actually, how long are we gonna go? Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna pause this one. No, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop this one. So this is gonna conclude this first portion where we just talked about the Office of the Secretary, and we saw some of these powerful programs that exist, and the fact that they looking for us, they trying to give us bread, right? And we should be doing a better job now that we have this information of being able to, you know, build our carriers and help them to sustain their businesses and build this network of black people, carriers with, agents of carriers, brokerages, where we're all working together, right? Working together, man. Let's go, y'all. Freight acquisition management methodology in the building, man. I'm so excited right now. I'm so excited, man. This is so great. So great. I'm thankful so much for the divine spirit for being able to do and discover and reveal this information. Like, this is literally making my dreams come true, because I've envisioned this so many times, seeing myself being able to uncover these things that are going to be beneficial for us within this industry. And I'm really just so happy right now. So yeah, I'm gonna stop this video. We're gonna get back once we come to part two. We're gonna go over the hazardous materials, because as an agent and carriers, you are gonna possibly want to pick up hazardous materials. I would say you definitely want to have that endorsement on your license. Also, with a TWIC card, you want to have that to give you access to the airports and bonded areas, because that commands more money for shipments. So we're going to go over the hazard material from the DOT, and boom, shalom. Now, I appreciate y'all.